Well, they're called zombie mines. These are proposed new coal mines or expansions to existing mines that might never see the light of day. But once they're under government review, they're rarely revoked, and leaving great uncertainty for the communities around them. According to a new report by the Australia Institute, there are currently 23 new coal projects proposed in New South Wales. That's about 15 Adani-sized mines in total in terms of the amount of coal being produced. In a moment, we're going to be joined by the former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who's just been appointed to head a new board to advise the New South Wales Government's long-term climate policy. First, here's our reporter, Eleni Soltis, who's taking a closer look at these new coal proposals and the impact they could have on the region.
The New South Wales Government has committed to net zero emissions by 2050, but despite this goal, the Australia Institute says 23 new coal projects have been proposed in the state.
I think anyone who lives in this area just feels a sense of devastation, and a certain sense of helplessness about what is happening here.
Kirsty O'Connell is a fifth-generation farmer in Aberdeen and is a member of the Friends of the Upper Hunter group. 11 of the 23 coal projects proposed in the state are for the Upper Hunter region alone. Kirsty says even if these proposals don't go ahead, the damage has already been done.
It hangs over our head and it sterilises areas of the Upper Hunter, areas that should be put to productive use. And you can see the river flat that's not being productively used. You can see, the acres and acres of farmland where people aren't going to invest because there are proposed mines in the area. And it has a huge impact.
The Australia Institute's report, One Step Forward, Two Steps Back, has found a lot of these projects tend to be so-called zombie mines. These are proposals that may never get off the ground, but continue to create uncertainty and impose costs on the communities around them. Lands are devalued and local development plans can be put to a halt, but there are other concerns too.
Air pollution. We know that the Hunter Valley, particularly postcode 2333, has the third worst air pollution in the country and the worst air pollution in New South Wales due to our mining impacts.
Dr Bob Vickers is a GP in Singleton. He's a community member of the Upper Hunter Air Quality Advisory Council. That's a body set up by the New South Wales Environment Protection Authority over a decade ago in response to community concerns about the region's coal mines.
When you've got 16, 17 active mines, it creates a cumulative impact where no one wants to take responsibility for their pollution, but the pollution that we cop is well above an acceptable standard for this region. If you add more to that mix and assess them on an individual merits-based, how much pollution does this mine make, then you could say it's a minimal impact, but the cumulative impact is what's doing the damage to our health.
The Australia Institute also says the New South Wales Government tends to look at coal proposals on a case-by-case basis, and that by doing so, fails to see the big picture. The report's lead author is Richard Dennis.
The world is moving away from coal, but the New South Wales Government seems to be moving into coal at precisely the wrong time. Existing coal mines are not operating near capacity. If we have this enormous expansion in coal that's seeking approval at the moment, the coal literally wouldn't all fit on the railway lines. It literally wouldn't all fit out through the Port of Newcastle. So we're approving all of these mines on a case-by-case basis, but when you add up the case for each of them, it just doesn't make sense collectively. So that's why we're calling on the government to have a collective approach. And in the meantime, we need a moratorium on approving new coal mines until we get to the bottom of exactly what it is the Hunter economy needs and the world economy needs.
In a statement to RN Breakfast, the New South Wales Department of Planning, Industry and Environment says it assessed 15 development applications. One project was refused. It goes on to say it carefully considers the impacts of greenhouse gas emissions and state and national government policies on climate change. And a spokesperson for New South Wales Mining, Exploration and Geoscience says coal mining provides a major source of jobs and economic development in several regions across New South Wales. And the government strongly supports the sustainable and socially responsible development of the state's resources.
That report from Eleni Soltis, and you can see the full statement from the New South Wales Government on our website online. Do you agree with this call from the Australia Institute for a freeze or moratorium on coal mining approvals in New South Wales?
Absolutely. I think it is out of control. There are mines being approved which would have capacities vastly in excess of the demand for coal that exists.
The bottom 20% get nothing. They're really unfair tax cuts.
People want to see much stronger action from the government when it comes to climate change.
It's no coincidence that we have a wages crisis in Australia.
Transitioning to net zero emissions, it doesn't seem like there's much room for gas.